Alrighty. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Nick Pettis here with Cynthia Carrillo, and I'm joined by.
My name is Audra Holzer.
Thank you for
And my
joining
name
us.
and my name is Christina Carrillo.
Yeah, thank you both for joining us. So, we're going to ask a couple of questions, okay? And just answer them the best you can. So, question number one. Being a woman in America, how does it feel to have a say in who runs your government?
I can go first. I would say it's a blessing to be able to participate in that. That slowly our government is evolving so that we can benefit more and more from it, and that we're not discriminating against certain sectors of people just for the sake of another group, and that um, we have the right to change things and grow in those liberties. I think that's a blessing, and definitely something that we shouldn't take for granted.
Okay. How about you, Christina?
I think it's a privilege and honor to be able to have a voice, say how our government is run, and just to have that freedom and ability to do that.
Nice. A semi-related question. How do you guys feel having a woman vice president, being Kamala Harris?
If I'm being completely honest, I don't follow what that particular individual believes in, but it has nothing against the fact that they are a woman. It is simply that their beliefs and what they hold for the government, I don't agree with, but that doesn't mean that there isn't other potential female candidates that could fulfill that role of protecting the people better. And I think that there's definitely a better potential in the future, and that this does open the door in the future, but I don't particularly agree with her policies, but not because she's a woman.
Okay. How about you?
I also don't support Vice President Kamala Harris because I also don't agree with what she stands for and how she runs things. I do think it was good to see a female in a power position, and it's advancing women to show what's in power, but I do not support Kamala Harris herself, no.
Okay. Did you know that over 100 years ago, it was a crime for women to vote?
Yes, I did know that, and I definitely don't think it was right. But I think considering what authority was in our government in the first place, it's not a surprise that it was illegal originally.
Yeah. Yeah, I found that as, like you, not really that much of a shock. How about you, Christina?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Did you know that over 100 years ago, it was a crime for women to vote?
I didn't know it was a crime.
Yeah. I believe it was Susan B. Anthony who went to prison for voting in the election of that year. So that's actually pretty powerful. Knowing what you know about the women who came before you, before you did, to earn your right to vote, is there anything you could say to our women viewers about voting? What would you tell them?
Use the freedom that you have now while you can. The government can really turn any day. I'm not saying that it's going to, but I'm just saying that while we have the freedoms that we have as any individual in this country, enjoy the freedoms you do have. Because just as it's evolving to good things, there's always a peak of government, as history has shown. So enjoy the freedom while you have it, and also keep pursuing to change things for the better, and hopefully it can continue to grow instead of continue to be shut down.
Thank you. And you, Christina?
Something that I would just mention is to do your research. It's really look into the policies that support. Just because social media influencers and celebrities support something doesn't necessarily mean it benefits you, especially women. So I just say to do your research and look into policies actually, instead of just going with the movement because it's popular or trending on social media.
Thank you. That answers all my questions. Cynthia, if you have any you'd like to share?
I do. So, what are some opinions and thoughts about women's suffrage?
I think it's definitely a positive that the movement happened and that we do have the right to vote now. It's definitely something to not overlook, as we previously stated. And I think it demonstrates that people hold more power than they think they do. And when you gather people together and encourage them to talk about the big issues, that really anything can change in our government, and the minority groups can be helped. The groups of people that are not benefited. So I would say that oftentimes government overlooks groups of people that are being discriminated against, and by allowing us to have a voice by having that First Amendment is definitely a blessing, and the women's suffrage proves that.
What about you, Christina?
I think the Women's Suffrage Act definitely was a major impact in our history, and I think that really set the grounds for women and where we stand today, whether that was in in the workforce especially, and how they sought to change the voting laws to allow them to vote.
My next question, how has your life been impacted by having a voice regarding this topic? Do you like having a voice in the matter?
I would say there's definitely benefits to having a voice and actually being listened to, because if you think about throughout history, women always had voices. They just weren't always heard. So the biggest benefit of having a voice is that we are listened to now, though it's still growing to being more and more listened to, and there's still an immense growth that can happen. There's still not perfect equality, but we're in a sinful, imperfect world, so there's never going to be equality, but we can always strive to pursue that. I don't think there's a harm in that. I think there is, I would say that just it's a benefit to have a voice, and I'm thankful to be heard.
Good. What about you, Christina?
My life has been impacted on this topic, and just as a woman in today's society, having a voice, especially in political matters, have really been challenging, because if you do have a different political view or different views on certain issues that regard women, they tend to get disregarded if they're not the same as what today's society is, because certain beliefs go against religion or things that go down that path. So I think definitely having a voice in this matter is nice to have, but the downside is that other women do put down other women because of having not the same beliefs. So.
And just to go off of that, I definitely think that's just true about everybody, not just women, and not just women to each other, men to men, men to women, women to men. women to women. It happens everywhere because we all have contradicting views. So it's something that's we're never going to be equal. And I think the fact that we keep putting each other down and forgetting that we have our differences and we have the right to our opinions is definitely harmful in our society today. We can't just say that because someone else doesn't have our same opinion that they're 100% wrong. Oftentimes we find value in other people's opinions and we learn something from other people, even if it's not something we originally thought we would believe or even just originally even ever thought of, period. So I think to be listening to each other is very important.
That's true. Thank you. And my last question, with everything going on in politics today, what if the 19th Amendment changed, allowing women to no longer have a voice? How would you feel?
Well, if the 19th Amendment had been removed, our government's probably no longer our government anymore, and we're probably in a season where some kind of overarching power has taken over our country, since until the government collapses, all amendments are our rights. Those are our liberties, and those are things that cannot be overlooked. So that question is kind of like, well, every one of my rights would be taken away. Therefore, everything, I guess you could say, protection that I have right now would be gone. I think the world would be scary and a lot harder to live in with so many contradicting opinions and that kind of authority.
Yeah.
I completely agree with Audra with what she just stated. Not being able to have a voice, I think, in today's society would definitely have been, because of all the protests that have happened, I think our government would no longer be in power because of that. So in that situation.
Yeah. I agree. Well, thank you. That's all from me. Nick?
Thank you guys for joining us and sharing your thoughts. We really appreciate it.